want to snowball. They want to get to the side lanes. Over towards JDG, though. Hovering the Udyr, we mentioned that this was a rising star of the jungle and is pretty much 100% presence in other regions.
Yeah, and it's going to continue as so. Like, Udyr is just so insane on the current patch. And the big thing for me, though, looking at this Suning side is like, hey, look, when I see Twisted Fate, I start to think, right, what do we pair it with? What's a strong top laner? What's a strong bot lane that we can actually get snowballing and take over this game? Now, with the Renekton taken on the opposite side, you're looking at maybe trying to pick up a couple of carries that could deal well into it, but I'm not 100% like with things like the Camille band away, what Suning have in mind for Bin, but you know that Bin is going to have some pick he'll be happy to play into that Renekton.
Well, SofM goes with the Graves. Look at the win rate there. 27% win rate on Graves. We've seen a good amount of Graves. It's not like a low sample pool. But SofM, happy to go for it into the Udyr here. And it's going to be the Gragas locked in as well. Could very much go up towards Bin. Could go towards On, I guess. Either we'll have to wait and see where that flexes to.
I imagine it is going top lane. Bin actually hasn't played the Gragas in the top lane yet, but the Gragas into Renekton matchup, at least in Europe and that, very much considered a strong counter to that Renekton. The thing is, though, on the Suning side of things, it means that you're pretty much all your eggs in that bottom lane basket if that's what you're going to go for, because you get Gragas ahead, he's not really going to do too much. You're going to be looking to try and snowball some sort of AD carry, but you can see JDG have already identified this. They're just going to ban away a bunch of these really strong like late game carry AD carries, and then you're in a situation assuming, well, what do we kind of do? What are we going to go for? Especially if JDG pick up something like the Jhin in this bottom side of the map. They've got a super safe laner that you can't really punish too much, and it means that for Suning's side, they could struggle to get rolling with this Twisted Fate.
When you mentioned Jhin, I want to see Huanfeng lock in Jhin. I want to see him just remind JDG of what happened in the World's quarterfinals, of him ulting from the enemy base. One quick note on the Gragas as well when it comes to that flexibility there. So far this split, Suning have only played one game with Gragas, and it was SofM that picked it for the jungle. We haven't seen Bin or On play Gragas so far this split, so regardless of where that goes, it will be a slightly different look for the team.
Yeah, I still imagine it is going topside. Gragas can do very well into picks like the Rel, which has been banned away, but honestly, I think that it's just so strong into the Renekton, I wouldn't be surprised to see it just pop into the top side. And it looks, at least at the moment, that Suning are trying to keep their bottom lane hidden, so maybe they've got some sort of weird pick that they want to bring out, but Xayah seems to be the kind of pick for me that stands out right now, is still those S-tier AD carries that we've seen, but we'll have to figure it out as they are going to lock it in here.
Yeah, the Jhin that you predicted goes in there for JDG. So Loken, happy with that one. Suning can double pick their bot lane here. The Thresh has been banned, which makes you think Aphelios probably no longer on the cards. Ezreal Hover, this is something with a brand new build. It got buffed coming into 11.3, so slightly better scaling on the Q. And there it is, Huanfeng Ezreal. This was a pick that Huanfeng was exceptionally hyped for last year. We didn't really get to see too much of it in the later stages of the year when we got to international tournaments, but Huanfeng's Ezreal is right up there with the best.
Yeah, it is absolutely incredible, and with this new build as well, you don't really have that same lag period that you had last year, where you were kind of looking at, okay, well, he's got to get the tier, he's got to stack that up, get to the Muramana, it's all kind of waiting to come online. Now with this new build where you go Essence Reaver into that Duskblade, you're online for such a large portion of time because you very quickly pick up those extra Spellblade damages off Qs, thanks to the Sheen being into the Essence Reaver, and then that lethality coming through from the Duskblade as well. So this is where Suning are very much going to be trying to play around Huanfeng, getting him set up in this early stage and seeing if he can take over in the mid game with this lethality style build.
And you know what? That's my favorite kind of Suning. I want to see them playing towards Huanfeng because he's the kind of player that can take over a game. On the other side, though, for JDG, it feels a little bit more top focused, right? Jhin, I mean, you could play around Jhin, I guess, but Yagao really wants to focus towards the later stages of the game. Zoom on a Renekton. With an Udyr gank, maybe they could set something up there.
Yeah, I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot more of JDG trying to play through Yagao here. Because you've got like such a strong Azir, you can play towards these early dragons, especially with the pushing bot lane that you have with this Jhin as well. So I imagine we'll actually see them playing pretty heavily around this bottom side and trying to use the lane pressure that they have to get Kanavi some of these early dragons, these early Rift Heralds, and work through just how strong their laners are. On the opposite side though, coming through for Sunni, for Sunni, I think we're going to see a lot more trying to obviously set up this bot side. You've got the Twisted Fate there. You're waiting for that level 6 to come online. You'll have like the likes of that Jhin already picked up, hopefully by the Ezreal at that point, and then trying to burst someone very quickly down with the jungler's intervention as well in that bottom lane.
Alright, so focus towards that bottom lane for Sunni, mid lane for JDG, but importantly, especially with the new version of the Ezreal build, which we'll get a little bit more in depth once we get into the game, you can focus a little bit earlier than you've previously been able to, and maybe could have some contention around these Drakes that are going to be coming on through. But you can see your compositions on your screen there. And I'm not going to lie, we've been talking about that top lane matchup. I feel like we're not really going to see these top laners interacting very much. They're just going to kind of belly bop each other, occasionally back away. Those junglers, though, the Graves pick from SofM, it's a classic for him, but it's not that great in the meta. If anyone can pull it off, though, it's going to be SofM. Let's get on to Summoner's Rift, though, for our World's quarterfinal rematch here in spring 2021 LPL. Sunni against JDG, fighting in the e-commerce war.
I want to touch on a point that you made there, Munch, which is SofM on this Graves. He really is going to be reliant on and on Angel to get him set up on. You're very much looking at kind of a pick-orientated play here from Sunni when we get to the mid-game. And if he can get in and can actually help on that pick, fantastic for SofM. If not, I'm a little bit worried with just the amount of range that's on JDG's side, because Graves trying to get onto Azir ain't really going to happen. Same when you look towards this Jhin, and if he's free-firing into the likes of this Udyr, he's not going to be doing too much. So certainly I think Sunni will need to get the ball rolling early here, so they can get control of this game and allow that pick composition to operate.
Interestingly as well, we do actually see Yagao going with the lethal tempo on the Azir, which is not that crazy, right? When you think of Azir, lethal tempo is fine. But generally speaking, recently, it's been the Hail of Blades and it's been the Comet, most importantly, in LPL. So definitely a slightly different look, but it's also like an indication that he wants to play for late game right now. He's not looking for the early trades.
Exactly. Against the likes of the Twisted Fate, Twisted Fate is perfectly happy just wave clear all day. It's going to be kind of difficult to get in on top of him in the same way you would like an Orianna or something like this. So instead, he's going, as you said, late game, look towards the team fight, and set up JDG where they're strongest. Like JDG, regardless of how weak their early game has been, they're still terrifying in the team fight. So if you can get to that late game, and especially with Yagao on a comfort pick for him, they're going to be blood for JDG.
Yeah, JDG are, I mean, last year especially, they were the best front-to-back team fighting team in the whole LPL. And that talent hasn't gone anywhere. There were no substitutions for JDG. This is the same roster as 2020. But let's just take a look at the jungles here, because both of them pathing down towards the bot side to start this one off. And this is kind of what you predicted, Dagda, that they'd be playing towards this bottom lane.
I prefer this start for Kanavi though, with Yagao having that push in the mid and also having that push in the bot lane that we talked about. SofM actually isn't going to be able to get the scuttle, so I wouldn't be surprised to see SofM try and clear this red and maybe just run straight up towards that topside scuttle. But again, you can see what we pointed out already, like JDG have incredibly strong laners, so it's pretty difficult for SofM to get into the river, even get into the enemy jungle as this Graves. And as a Graves, that's where you're comfortable. You want to be trying to steal away some of your opponent's camps, getting this large lead for yourself. But unfortunately, with how potent the JDG laners are right now, it's going to be pretty difficult for SofM.
Dagda sat there looking at his crystal ball, leaves the Croaks, goes straight up towards the top scuttle. Kanavi moving through mid though, does not want to let this scuttle go without a fight. Here we go. Kanavi wants to kick this one off, wants to kick the LPL back off with some action, but SofM has the smite available, grabs the scuttle, level 4 each as Kanavi tries to close the gap. But SofM can kite him out pretty decently. Looks like Kanavi has to walk away empty-handed.
Yeah, the big thing here though is with how quick the Udyr clear is, like he's now going back up towards his Krugs that he cleared first, and he's going to be getting that respawn. So you are essentially still a camp up as Kanavi with these reset timers coming in, whereas for SofM, you haven't actually cleared those Krugs yet, so you're a lot slower in this jungle, and this is where this Udyr can get such a massive lead. And when you start to think about, hey, look, not only are you clearing your own jungle faster, but you have the potential with these lanes to get into your opponent's jungle, Kanavi has the opportunity to build this big lead as this Udyr.
And I mean, that's exactly what we've been setting up, right? Is that they would love to just passively build those leads. Imagining that he can build the lead individually as that jungler. JDG would love for no lane interaction. That's perfectly okay in there, right? So if he could just farm it up against this Graves, that's going to be okay with him, which is kind of a weird look when you think about Udyr, you think about his ability to gank these lanes, but he's actually kind of okay if that doesn't happen as well. First Drake, though, going to be on Mountain. And we kind of mentioned that both junglers would like to go for the Drakes. Maybe with the Ezreal as the lock-in, perhaps this one's favored for JDG.
It is, but I love what Suning have done. They put down this ward onto the Wolves. You saw Angel just teeter on in there, and now they know exactly where Kanavi is. So usually Udyrs like to go for this first dragon off of this first reset, but they're going to have full timing here. And you can see SofM, he's already in the area. He's expecting them to try and go for this. So they may actually try and potentially make a play on this bottom side and see if they can stop this dragon from going across, or at least contest it in some way from Suning.
We'll have to see if they go for it. One thing I will say is that recently, Suning's shot calling not been exceptional. Now they've had a 2-week break to improve on that. But SofM blasts straight over the wall in towards the dragon. He goes, you said some sort of contest. It's the SofM solo contest right now. Realizes that this one is donezo and just slides back out. Bit of a weird one, but you know what? It's SofM. All I expect is weird ones.
Yeah, that was a strange shell play, but it does mean, look, either way, JDG are still able to get that dragon. Suning didn't want to fully commit to that because Yagao still had that push in mid. You could see that JDG were just in a better position to operate that team fight. And again, Kanavi just using this small tempo advantage that he had. Again, we were talking about those reset timings coming in. But look, he's cleared his bot side jungle, into drag, into top side. Now he's going to move back into his own side and sweep through this bot side jungle. This is what SofM is so good at, is these super, super efficient clears. And it's what's netting that almost 10 CS lead for him in the jungle right now.
Good attempt there from Bin. Almost gets Zoom underneath the tower, but he slices away and bounces out on the ultimate. Bit of a CS lead up top for Zoom as he's going to reset. But across the board, it's actually exceptionally even right now. We're at level 6, though, for Angel. He's on the Twisted Fate. I'd love to see him start to get proactive on this map. Use that Destiny and start to get some of these other lanes ahead.
Yeah, and he'll have plenty of options as well, especially with how aggressive the JDG laners have been up until this point. They're still going to want to push, they're still going to want to shove, try and use these lane advantages that they have. So if Angel can get out into these side lanes, could find a couple of those members overextended. The interesting thing here, though, is just like, what does Yagao do with that time? Because if Angel is piecing out into one of these side lanes, as an Azir with lethal tempo and you're building up towards a quick Nashor's Tooth, like, you can tear through these structures so quickly.
Yagao definitely has the ability to blast through. One thing I will say is it's a little slow, at least to start with, but it speeds up the longer it goes on, especially if he starts to build some attack speed. Because the Azir builds we've been seeing have been much more pure AP recently, but we've not really been seeing lethal tempo, so I'm a little curious where Yagao goes with the build. Has been taking a hefty chunk, but he's the Gragas. He doesn't really care if he's taking hits. He's quite happy to just sustain up in that level.
Well, we have the reset times coming in for the Rift Herald. You can see that LvMao is already reset on the bottom side. He's moving straight towards that Rift Herald with Kanavi there as well. So already you can see JDG, they're all focused on these objectives. This is how you use priority when you have 3 winning lanes. It's just, hey, we're going to take everything on the map, but Loken's been left on his own.
Oh, the red card, that is not the right one, but it doesn't matter. True Shot Barrage flies in. Loken with a bit of a fail flash, and Angel grabs the first kill of the game. We asked where he was going to go with that ulti. The answer's the bottom lane. Kanavi goes to Herald to answer.
Yeah, that's a big mistake coming through from JDG. They knew already that they were going to go towards that Rift Herald, but honestly, when you've already got the pressure from Yagao in mid, you've got the pressure from Zoom as well. But hold on.
LvMao is overextended for this one. He's not level 6 just yet, and Angel never left. They were baiting all along, and Huanfeng's Ezreal grabs himself a cheeky chunk of gold. As SofM now trying to defend in the mid lane. Herald in the hands of Kanavi, but he's going to leave it for later.
So remember we talked about, too many spinning plates for JDG? That's the prime example. And now even Kanavi's trying to contest for Scuttle with bot side dead.
Yeah, I don't know about this one, Kanavi. This Scuttle will go down. I'm pretty sure Huanfeng got it in the end. Perfect opportunity now for Suning to reset on the map. SofM is sticking about, though. Minute and a half until this next Drake, and it feels like Suning have woken up a little bit and maybe can start to fight, because that Essence Reaver just got finished for Huanfeng.
But this is a big issue with JDG, as we said, trying to do too much. You've got Kanavi, who already has mid lane pressure, you've got that top lane pressure as well. Just use that strong top side to secure that Rift Herald, rather than moving people across.
Angel, I don't know what quite happened there. I don't know how this all started off, but Angel has gone down. So maybe not a contest on the Drake coming out from Suning after all. LvMao wanted a bit of revenge for the roams that came out from the Suning mid laner.
It will just give Yagao a nice reset coming in just before this, especially with the gold that's going to come in from this Rift Herald play as well. I mean, several members of JDG here. SofM, you need to be careful.
They might be able to just finish a tower here. It's real low. Loken not the best at taking towers, though, and here comes On to try and deny the play. Herald goes down, minions will fall, and Yagao goes in on this one somehow, and now On has been baited into the 1v4. SofM's blasted away with a shotgun, but one shotgun just ain't enough. Drake's up in 20 seconds, but I think JDG might have to reset.
It was the flash bait! Great bait, mate! 8 out of 8! It was Yagao going in. You like to make them think that he had the ultimate, psych him out, but actually flashes away, and it means that they're able to bait Suning into it. Weird passage of play, but look, JDG are able to get some. However, still, Huanfeng trading all these plates in the bottom lane. And when we talked about Huanfeng being the main damage source on this Suning side, the guy that they need to be get fed, I'm actually okay with that as Suning.
Well, if you're okay with it, I'm okay with it, Dagda. It looked like a bad play to me from Suning, but I guess they get a tower. They get the tower, so since they defended mid, we take those in the eyes of Suning, and I'm okay with that. I think people know I kind of like Suning. So SofM grabbing themselves that Drake as well. As we mentioned, JDG had to reset. And now we have to revisit the win conditions, especially for JDG, because we were talking about scaling, but we also talked about the fact that Kanavi would look to play through Yagao and focus on these objectives. They got the first two, but now Suning's starting to turn that around.
Yeah, and it was a case of JDG stuck around in that mid lane trying to get the turret, which meant that when they actually got that team fight win, they had to reset, and Suning just used that nice opportunity to pick up the dragon for themselves. So now you're looking at the map and going, okay, well, what are we going to be looking at next? Because yes, we've got the Ezreal who's starting to ramp up on that bottom lane. You can see the Essence Reaver working towards that Duskblade coming through very soon. So Suning will have a really nice spike in just a little bit of time. And with the amount of globals that they have available, I'll be expecting them to try and play through these side lanes and then trying to teleport into mid. See if they can catch Loken on his own again. See if maybe they can get some time in the opponent's jungle and get some of that gold back for SofM, who was behind Kanavi.
And I think a really important thing to mention as well, especially for Huanfeng, is you already mentioned that he got that first tower gold by himself, but he's on this new Ezreal build that we've not really mentioned just yet. So I want to quickly dive into this because you don't have the same issues in the early game that previous Ezreal builds have. And when he's able to get a first tower solo with all 5 plates, he's going to be accelerated a crazy amount.
And, I mean, that's why he's so far ahead. I mean, the Gale Force has only just been completed for Loken, whereas you're looking at probably off this reset, nearly finishing off on that Duskblade for Huanfeng. But the acceleration's also happening on JDG's side, right? Because you had Yagao, who, he's got 2 kills, plus he shared in all that gold that was coming across from the plates in the mid lane as well. So he's got the Liandry's Anguish. He can now go towards that Nashor's Tooth. And at that stage, Yagao's online. Like, he is huge when he gets those 2 items.
Yeah, he's a big boy. SofM stepping in. Kanavi wants to 1v1, but he's blinded. SofM trying to play this one at arm's reach, but the ward has gone down, and he has to respect what Kanavi can do. SofM This man doesn't know the meaning of the word respect. He just steps up, face checks the brush once again. At least he knows that Udyr doesn't have any damage, but On apparently doesn't. Was real close to getting caught there. LvMao holds the trigger though, which is not very customary of LvMao, I'll admit, but it looks like JDG can't quite force the play that they wanted to here.
You can see JDG wanted to go for the dive on top lane with Angel there, but SofM just playing keep away, playing bouncer, not letting them into the lane. So JDG instead try to turn their attention towards mid lane, but again, Suning kind of matching the dance step for step and not letting them try and crack open these towers. But it looks like they've got one more trick up their sleeve as Zoom is going to join them, and with this numbers advantage and how low that tower is, you've got to give this up as Suning.
Bin has TP if they really wanted to commit, but Suning maybe have to give it up. But they can just clear the wave. And now actually LvMao's in trouble. Solar Flare comes down. Can they turn it into a kill? Bin has arrived. Huanfeng with another kill. Make it a couple for the side of Suning, who suddenly turned the play on its head. JDG got to Ansi. They were desperate for the mid tower and they are punished.
Suning have been playing way more ARAMs in the offs time than anyone on JDG has, clearly, because they know exactly how to play this. End up getting the aggressive play coming in from Suning. They get the kills and turn this back around. And honestly, this is weird from JDG. Like, their macro was some of the best in the LPL last bit, but the fact that they're all just 5-manning in mid, not really able to do much against the wave clear on Suning's side, and that's where SofM decides to go in aggressive. Gale forces in, great ultimate from On as well to set up that kill. And Suning, they buy the time, they're getting the kills, and as a pick composition, this is the position you want to be in.
This feels real good for Suning, and I just want to cast people's minds back to before the 2-week break we just had. Suning's biggest issue has been shot calling. Suning's biggest issue has been knowing where to be on the map, not getting lost in the source in the mid game, right? Right now in this early game, they are matching JDG with everything they want to do. The shot calling has been on point, and this is a really, really good sign of things to come for Suning so far.
Yeah, and I also want to highlight something that Angel's going for. He's gone for that Everfrost build as well. So this actually got a lot of changes coming in onto the new patch 11.4, but we haven't seen it actually happen yet because we're still on 11.3. So this does give a huge amount of mana, which is a lot better for the Twist of Fate. But
forget Everfrost, we've got a fight on our hands here. Dagda, in they go onto Suning. Huanfeng taken down to start the fight. It's a huge pick for the side of JDG. They'd love to get more, but I think red buff is all they're going to have to settle for. Wards taken, and now over to the Drake.
And this is how I actually want to see JDG go for these invades. One of the big criticisms that I've had of them is they'll try and go for these invades off of not really having priority anywhere. This time around, though, they bring the cavalry. All 5 members are willing to jump into this jungle, make sure that they're getting the red buff, forcing out Suning, and getting themselves the dragon as well. So Cloud Soul is on the cards, is on. Needs to be careful.
Looks like they should be able to at least clear the wave here. Yagao desperately wants to take this tower. Every single time a wave arrives, JDG like inch forward for the tower. They're desperate to take it. They've been denied every time. And SofM, if there's one thing this guy is known for, it's taking stuff on the other side of the map when the enemy's not looking. Onto Herald he goes.
Yeah, and he should be able to get it fine. I mean, you can still see Kanavi's hovering around this bottom side, but there's not really any camps for him down there. So it looks like they're going to look for Huanfeng instead.
Oh, Huanfeng, you have stepped way too far, my friend. He is eradicated from the map. And now a knock up onto Bin. Suning have overcommitted to protect the AD carry, and they're going to be punished for it. Zoom, though, doesn't have enough damage to finish off Bin. Looks like the play has ended, but JDG, maybe now they've killed Huanfeng again. Maybe, just maybe, they can go towards this mid tower.
Yeah, they will finally be able to crack it. It's been a long time coming, but eventually this bastion from Suning will fall. The big thing here, though, is, again, JDG finding those moments to punish. Huanfeng overextends, getting some kills back in their favor, and now cracking open that mid lane turret gives them a bit more control on the opponent's side. You can see the wards that have already been placed in this bottom lane. They're just trying to spot out where Angel is to make sure that he's not trying to go for these TP plays and catch out and pick off members of JDG.
So far, so good here for JDG. It feels like they are getting a little bit back on top of the situation. We had a couple of minutes there where it felt like, okay, Suning is just reading JDG there. Everywhere that JDG wants to be, Suning has an answer, and they were trying to overforce the play onto the mid lane. But now that they've got rid of that mid lane turret, it feels like it's freed their mind. It feels like they can go to other lanes now. They don't just have to 5-man every single wave in the mid lane. They can finally. They could go on a vacation to bot lane. They could take some time in the top lane. They could go wherever they please, Dagda.
While we've got a little bit of time, though, I want to bring it back to this Everfrost build for Angel. Because one of the big things about Twisted Fate going for the Rocket Belt builds was that, hey, look, you've got this mana, or you don't really have any mana in that build. Whereas when you go for this Everfrost build, you're kind of doubling down on the utility that you offer because you can stun into then the root that comes through from the item. But the 600 mana means you can clear waves so much more efficiently. You don't actually have to worry about running out of mana. And now you can play this push and run style that is way more difficult for JDG to play with.
Solar Flare just a little wide onto Loken. Herald will get the charge in, but it's obviously not enough to finish off the tower. As SofM, in classic SofM fashion, is trying to invade the Gromp in the meantime. Kanavi wants to answer those. He moves into the jungle of Suning. Bin just going to shove out this wave and then probably has to leave because the whole of JDG is here right now. As we head towards the 20-minute mark now, let's kind of reassess the win conditions for these teams because we talked about JDG's front to back. But Suning, they need to try and separate right now. They need to try and get JDG caught out individually.
And you've no turrets really down on Suning's side to create
oh
pressure.
My
although Loken.
Damage. True Shot Barrage nearly clips him. Good little Gale Force there from Loken. That was a lot of damage coming out from SofM. We're not seeing much Graves recently, but it's still strong.
Yeah, it still hurts if you're going to walk into it face first, and I'm not sure what Loken was doing, because honestly, I was about to say, look, Suning have no pressure on the map, right? You can see Angel, he's trying to take a tier 1 in top, you still got the tier 1 in mid. When you've got Dragon in a minute, hey, just take it easy. Let's just play as JDG towards that objective. You don't have to worry about these side lanes going down, because honestly, Suning don't really get much out of them, so just start to force pressure on towards Suning when you're ramping up these dragons. Now, though, with Loken actually giving that little bit of a timing window across, you can push his Angel, you can get back towards this dragon, and not worry too much about if you're going to end up giving this objective across without a fight.
Look at the gold difference between AD carries right now. It's 2.6 thousand in favor of Huanfeng. Just look at the items alone. He's had his Duskblade for ages at this point, and Loken's still yet to finish a second item. Huanfeng is really huge. Just got a Tiamat on the recall as well, so now his Qs are going to hit everyone simultaneously. It feels like Huanfeng is really hitting his stride, and Loken's a little bit further away from it. With Drake coming up in 15 seconds, that could be a huge advantage for Suning.
Yeah. One of the big things about this Ravenous Hydra build as well is giving much needed wave clear to play this 1-3-1 style, or at least this 1-4 style that I imagine Suning will go for. But as he said, drag it up, and LvMao's out of position.
LvMao keeps on getting caught out this game. It feels like I'm talking about a broken record here. Yagao dashes over the walls. Every single time Loken shows up, SofM will all in him. Manages to dash out, flash out, gets himself to safety, and now to the Drake they go as Bin looks to chase down Zoom as well. But I think Zoom should be able to get away. Crocodiles are very fast. Them's the rules of physics or nature or something. But here we go. Baron is not going to be taken. JDG toying with the idea and back away immediately.
Yeah, you can see the ults coming out from Huanfeng to spot that out, so they decide to back away, but big mistakes from JDG. Like, at this stage, you just move as a 5-man unit. You already said, look, there's no pressure top. The side lane are thoroughly in your favor. Why not just group as 5 and then not give the opportunity for Suning to go for picks? But LvMao overextends trying to get vision, and it means that Suning get that fight, and they get on towards this dragon as well.
So 2 Drakes apiece now between Suning and JDG. It's 5-4 in kills. Gold is just about dead even. You know what, Dagda? This is exactly how I wanted this game to go. Because we were talking about these two teams as these late game sort of macro focused teams. It doesn't feel quite accurate to say macro focused, but certainly team fight focused.
There's been a few
teams,
silly
right?
plays, I will say. There's definitely
been some silliness. But, you know, it's the first game back of LPL. I want there to be silliness. That is exactly what I need in my life right now. But importantly, we're getting towards the late game. Talk to me about how these two teams function, and more importantly, how JDG gets Suning to just team fight them. Because Suning never won that, right?
Well, I'm not sure if Kanavi's just going to run at them and start a fight, but honestly, they're missing their opportunities. Like, the best way for them to do it was to start to stack up these dragons. But now Suning have the opportunity to go, right, we don't care about this next dragon in 330. We're just going to play out through these side lanes, get down this super low top lane turret, start to force JDG around the map, and then they can use this Twisted Fate to pick people off. And as we said, so much utility coming through with that Everfrost means the CC chain is absolutely insane. So if you're stuck as a JDG member, you're permanently stuck until you're dead.
And on the other side of that, though, when it comes to the actual damage output, if it does work out, if Kanavi does just run stun jobs done onto someone, there's a lot of follow-up damage. Yagao on the 2 items, heading towards a third as well. Collector's finished for Loken. And we saw the damage Graves was doing to Loken. We saw that. But that burst is also available from Loken. If he catches someone out, he will one-shot them. And they've caught someone out. Immediately, SofM goes down. JDG, with the teamfight comp, they're the ones finding picks.
Great play coming through from LvMao there. The chem tank straight over the wall into the flash sets them up. Now, though, Angel just ulting to get some vision.
Yeah, he's going to move over towards LvMao, and there's a lot of poke here. Huanfeng on Ezreal gets to sit off at the side. Engage comes through. LvMao just peeled with the Solar Flare Ignite. Ticking one more auto. Takes the kill. 1-for-1 so far. As Baron chases JDG away, and Suning now inside track on the mid lane.
That is not the play from JDG. They try to go for Baron, but you've so much poke, so much CC on this Suning lineup, and Loken stuck.
This is not your red buff, my friend. Bin actually backed away there. That is way more respect than honestly I expected from Suning there. I thought they were going to go far more aggressive. But hey, they got the mid tower. They got themselves the red buff. They back away.
Yeah, I wanted to see JDG just turn towards side lanes. Just push these out fully. Get control of the map. Look towards this dragon. Like, if you force Suning right the way back and they have no control of River, they cannot operate this composition. You can't get Angel into a position where he can actually threaten tower because he's always got the risk of someone on JDG running on top of him. JDG tried to force Baron, though. Suning come in, they push them back, they crucially get that mid lane turret for Suning as well, which means now Suning have the opportunity to deep push these waves, get vision control for Angel, allow this Twisted Fate to operate, and JDG again just taking and biting off more than they can chew.
I will say though, Dagda, it feels good to see Huanfeng on Ezreal again. If Ezreal starts to become a much bigger meta pick, Huanfeng's going to have a whale of a time. We got to see this in late spring 2020, bit in the early stages of summer as well. He's now heading towards his 4th item. He's absolutely huge in this game, more than 10 CS per minute right now. And when I think about Huanfeng's Ezreal, I put it right up there with players like Jacula, right? His mechanics are absolutely insane. And that was one of the big things that we were saying back in spring 2020 was, hey, this guy's mechanics are insane. Sometimes he gets a little bit of monkey brain, but he's become so much more intelligent as a player. And it feels like he is in a position to succeed right now as Angel ults to the mid lane here just to potentially deny a play from JDG.
One of the people that I was really excited about was Yagao on this Azir, but he's actually gone for this poke-orientated build with the lethal tempo style, which I'm not a fan of. Double stopwatch for him, though.
Well, the Leandri's burn is going to work on Bin as LvMao goes in, but he's not that tanky just yet. Bin flashes out to safety. Logan's got his 4th shot, but he's not going to be able to find anyone. Hits it onto Angel, but there's some honey fruit around. Drake coming up in 5 seconds, and this is the moment to decide who will get soul point. Both teams on 2 Drakes right now. You mentioned earlier, Dagda, that Suning could opt out of this one, but that ain't the Suning way. They want to fight for this Drake. They want to scrap in this game. TP coming through from Azumo Yagao. Dragon taken. SofM, of course, is going to be able to steal that one away for himself. As Suning look to just opt out of the fight if they can. Looks like they might be able to. Kanavi's desperate to sprint in, but there's just too much damage from Suning. SofM is known as the Michael Jordan of the LPL because he's always stealing. And you know what? He's stolen it again.
Well, it was an easy one. LvMao wasn't there. LvMao got poked out at the start of that. He has to go back towards base, so 4 versus 5 for Suning, and Suning correctly identified this. Go for the fight, don't even take it, just nick away that dragon. And now they're in a fantastic position again. It's just buying all this time where they don't actually have to interact with JDG. And as I pointed out, JDG aren't really in a position to fight. Like, this build from Yagao is more about poke, but you're not really opting into poke with the runes that you've taken. You don't really have the likes of the Arcane Comet and stuff that actually lend itself to this style. So he needs to get the Nashor's Tooth. He needs to get these items to be an actual menace in these fights. But you can even see there, like Zhonya's and the stopwatch, he's fully bottled. Like, he's trying to find these big Azir sweeping plays in the fights, but not getting the opportunity to actually do that, as Suning are just out moving JDG on the map.
Which is exactly what they got to do with this composition as well. Got to remember that is how Suning have to play this game. They've got to be able to outmaneuver JDG and then search for picks. But, I mean, we're talking about item builds. It's a pretty far cry from what Angel has, right? You're talking about Yagao having 3 items plus the clock in his pocket. Look at Angel right now. He's only on the 2 items, still a far cry away from that rapid fire cannon. When it comes to damage between the mid laners, it's not even close. But that's not why you pick TF in the first place. You're not picking this TF to try and do tons and tons of teamfight damage. You're picking it for that ultimate, for the gold cards.
Exactly. And I mean, even from that perspective, though, Suning are kind of lackluster, right? You've got top lane turrets still there. They've only got the mid and bottom outer turrets. Like, it's not really that much pressure for JDG, which is why they're just tombing into this jungle.
Yeah, JDG want to start a fight, and it looks like they might have found it. SofM, though, dashes over the wall, and LvMao taken fairly low on this one. Frozen up by the Everfrost, and now Huanfeng's arrived. True Shot Barrage only going to tag Yagao, but he's happy to just queue this one out all the way through the fight. Loken, exhausted, knocked into the Baron pit, but Baron's not aggroed. Unlucky for Bin on these barrels so far. Honestly, Bin, with the barrels, not been able to do too much this game. He keeps on knocking people away.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt there. Like, the cleanse and the Gale Force from Loken was definitely making it a little bit more difficult. Either way, though, like, Suning are forcing JDG back. They're buying more time. Like, look at where the waves are, right? You just reset here, Suning. Jump back in where TF in this top lane, pushing out that lane, or even actually probably better off, Angel in this bottom side. You've got the Baron up, you've got Angel with TP, he's got that Destiny as well. Like, just try and play out through these side lanes and stop JDG from getting team fights.
Not at all the play. Angel is TP'd straight back onto the map. The ARAM continues, Dagda, but he's been spotted on a ward, knocked up, and might just get taken down. Loken's here, has the 4th shot, but the Zhonya's buy some time. Angel gets the shield as well at the last second. Still surviving for now, flashes out to safety, and somehow lives through everything. Solar Flare from On. As Suning look for the re-engage, I don't think they'll quite have an opportunity here. Binzel is available, but there's no way to close the gap.
I mean, neither top laner was there for that fight, so surprised to see LvMao try and take it, and even more surprised to see that Angel was willing to kind of handshake that engagement. But either way, both teams back away, and with Baron on the cards, still a minute until this dragon, like, you can now play both sides of the map, but at least on Suning's side, they can threaten that Baron much more aggressively because they have a dragon in advantage. They just don't really have a composition, though, that can take that Baron very quickly, which does make it difficult for them to really force JDG into a situation where JDG just don't call their bluff.
Yeah, 45 seconds, though. Kanavi, he's played Secret Agent. He's been spotted. Huanfeng's been here before. He's been the Ezreal that's got all of the gold on the... Oh, he gets stolen from! You cheeky devil, Loken. That was very rude indeed. But you know what? We take those 27 seconds until the Drake. Loken gets the red buff for himself. And Suning looking for Prio in this mid lane.
Yeah, and this is the big thing here for Suning is they don't actually have to face check this. You've got the Destiny, they've got the wave in mid, but JDG have actually cut it off. So you can't just run down mid lane here as Suning. Suning turning over towards the Baron, but again, as we said, not the quickest Baron take, so JDG could just call this bluff and try and force Suning out as someone goes and solos the dragon.
Well, it's going to be the blue trinket used, at least to deny it. SofM was on a ward there, but I don't think he cares. Looking towards Zoom, True Shot Barrage. Not going to do all of too much, but just a little bit of harass down onto this Renekton. Sundisk will be taken down as the minion wave just pushes into it there. Yagao starts this Drake off. He's the Azir. He's quite happy to just solo this one out. And in the meantime, JDG go up towards the Baron at the same time. They've found SofM, and they're trying to balance multiple plates, but this time it is working. SofM goes down. They get the Drake. Can they get out with their lives? Kanavi the target. Pushed back into the team. Angel's here, but gold card wasn't ready, and he's locked in that blue card. Salute. True Shot Barrage through the team. I don't think they finish anybody off here. Bin wants to deny some recalls. Loken has to back away. LvMao as well on low HP. He's trying to buy time because Huanfeng's trying to push the mid lane, but I don't think this is happening for Suning.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to On. I don't know if he got chunked out and I missed it, but he was in base. He had recalled at the start of that, which is the worst possible time for him to recall. I don't know if it was like, hey, we're out of wards, we need to go get it, or what the call there was from Suning, but it meant that you just saw JDG go, right, we're 4 versus 5, we're going to Baron, and they pick off SofM. They got the dragon as well, so JDG, although there's not a huge amount of blood, they end up with the net win. And yeah, it looks like On just backed. I don't know what the story was there. You can see he's in base. As SofM is checking Baron, like, Suning completely all over the place here with mixed calls. You get the GA, you get the kill out of SofM, and Suning can't really do much in a 3v5.
And the crazy thing is, Yagao was on the other side of the map. If they just commit to contesting the Baron there as Suning, they can fight that. That's a 4v5. There's no reason for them to be separated like this. And perhaps a little bit of greed from especially SofM trying to clear vision in the pit while he was alone. Bin now just dodging away from the root. As we keep on seeing these sort of pseudo contests in the mid lane where both teams are just throwing skill shots out at each other, trying to poke. Huanfeng takes a huge hit there, but he has a lot of lifesteal in the kit. He has some armor pen now as well with the Sharilda's Grudge. Bin having to dash away. Kanavi moves in with a bit of CC, but Zoom and Kanavi pretty damn tanky. Not much damage going to come on through. Solar Flare actually committed here from On. And not much to follow it up. Just praising the sun.
Yeah, it was a nice attempt from On. If he'd actually got onto Loken there, maybe you can have the flash body slam coming in from Bin to get on towards the AD carry, blow him up, and turn that fight for Suning. But Kanavi against Bin.
Yeah, there's no such thing as caught out when you're playing Udyr. He's completely invincible, as is Bin. So they both just hit each other a couple of times. Oh, that's a catch, though. LvMao knocked back by the explosive barrel. I said the barrels weren't good this game, but I have been proven wrong. Angel chased out, flashes away. Yagao going to chase him down. Gold card doesn't quite come through. Zoom now in trouble, but he's Renekton and he's in the middle of the fight. Kanavi goes back in on his low, and now the curtain call to shoot them down as they try and flee. But there is no escape, because Yagao's on his Azir, and he's grabbed himself a quadra kill.
I mean, I don't know what you expected from Suning. It's a team fight composition from JDG, and you're trying to go toe-to-toe against that? That's never going to work out. And you can see there, late game Azir fully online, the quadra kill for Yagao, and Suning, they lose the Baron after losing the fight.
It's starting to look real dire for Suning. They're only 3,000, 4,000 gold down. But it's not about gold in this game. It's about so much more than that. And they thought that they got to pick onto Kanavi. They thought they got to pick onto LvMao. But how wrong they were, Dagda.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know that LvMao's gone for the battle song, but with that ultimate, he's so damn tanky, and this is a big mistake from Angel. Like, that is not the target in any situation. Like, even if he goes for Yagao and tries to set up for Suning to get on top of him, I'm fine with that. But going for the Alistar, investing all that time and effort to kill just the support, means JDG are fine to go for this. And then you get this just Azir going nuts. You got the long range from the Jhin, making it impossible for Suning to retreat. I mean, just Suning again, just strange calls in this team fight, netting JDG the win.
And we talked about the shot calling from Suning. It looked so much better in the early game. They were matching the plays from JDG. But the longer this game goes on, the less it feels like Suning are back on top with the shot calling. Sword Art was the shot caller for this player. When it came to last year, when it came to the World Championship, it was all about Sword Art being the voice within the team. This year, it's felt like that's not been there. And the curtain call comes through. It's not going to be curtains for Suning just yet. They can still contest in this mid lane. But actually, I think I'm just completely wrong there, because JDG just blitzed down the tower. And now they're looking for SofM as well. Loken with the shot in there. Solar Flare onto LvMao. But this is going to be the mid inhibitor falling. Excellent use of the Baron here by JDG as they move towards the bottom side as well. Zoom has to back away from this one. Drake coming up in 10 seconds, Dagda, and this will be Soul for JDG.
Yeah, it's easy for JDG to try and play this one out now. You've got the Baron, you've got the pressure, and it's really difficult for Suning to break this, because now again, you've got the team fight, but your composition, even just the picks are falling offline. Like, you've got this more mid-game focused build coming through from the Ezreal, even as well from Angel as well, to a certain extent with this Everfrost build, so it's a weird time for Suning that We just seen them team fight, rather than actually trying to play side lanes in the mid game. And now it's coming back to bite them, where there's too many important objectives up on the map that they have to go and contest. And JDG are just stronger in every aspect of that team fight.
And the thing is, Dagda, I was excited for this Twisted Fate pick. I was looking at this draft and I was like, damn, Sunny, this team that so far this year have just never done anything proactive. They're always the ones that are just answering what their opponents do, never proactive. I saw them draft this Twisted Fate. I was like, okay, they're going to be proactive. It's just not happened. And now JDG continue to set the pace for this game as they begin a fight in the jungle. Suning just getting chased away through their own territory. In comes Zoom. He's a big old Renekton. Leona goes down. Bin going to be rooted as well, and he's tanky. But that's an Azir you're up against. It's not going to be tanky enough. And now into the base they can go. I think JDG might just have this one in the bag, but Huanfeng still has something to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You can talk a lot. It's more about the walk you walk. And JDG are walking into the base of Suning right now, and I don't know what they do.
Let's see if Huanfeng's got the walkie walk then, because he's 1v5 right now. The rest of the team not here. Angel now arriving, but he's been flashed on by LvMao. The walkie walk just ain't there for him. It's all talky talk here as JDG walk into the base. SofM chased away onto the fountain. Angel relegated into his own base here as Yagao says, I'm the king of the mid lane. This is going to be the Nexus going down. This is going to be JDG getting themselves a little bit of revenge for what happens at Worlds.
A nice win coming through for JDG in game 1 of the series. Honestly, I thought we'd see a little bit more out of Suning trying to play towards their composition strengths, but they really just didn't seem comfortable trying to play this more split push, pick orientated style. And JDG, we said they're most comfortable when they're team fighting. When they can get into a composition where you got Zoom playing front line, Yagao and Loken just free hitting from the backside, that's where they are going to win out their games. And this is exactly the composition that they got to draft.
It's frustrating for Suning fans, I'm sure, just assuming that that's the case. But I would love to see them draft a composition like JDG did, right? If you're a team that's not that proactive, draft for the late game. Just draft for, hey, if we just don't do anything for a long time, maybe we win by default. That's okay. That is a real way to play League of Legends. But if you're going to draft something like the TF, you've got to be so much more proactive in the early game, and you really got to get yourself snowballing. Also, I want to talk about the Ezreal pick a little bit here, Dagda, because on paper, I like it, but I feel like this is a weird version of Ezreal where you're no longer really that late game carry that people think of. With that lethality in the build, it feels like the longer the game goes on, the less of a carry you are.
You still do a lot of work. The biggest thing is more so that because you end up with this like heaps of AoE when you're in these like the thick of team fights, it's great. It was positioned here in this composition to be more of like a wave clear tool, so then you can have Angel play off towards these side lanes. But the problem was Suning just never played side lane. Like from the get-go we said, hey look, you can not go for this third dragon. You can instead get this top lane turret down, start to have opportunities for Angel to create pressure on these side lanes. Instead, they opt in towards the fight. They end up losing the fight. Okay, now the dragon's gone to JDG. Now we've got a fight for fourth dragon. We've got a fight for barons. The game then picks up a pace and makes it very difficult to operate these sort of split push compositions that Suning, or pick oriented compositions that Suning had. So at that stage, this TF was already done for. You had nothing left in the tank, so it doesn't matter what your AD carry is, you're just not going to win.
And when you look at the top lane as well, I'm heartbroken, Doctor. We came into this matchup, we're like, Bin versus Zoom, let's go. Carry top laner versus teamfight top laner. But they're both some of the best in the entire league. And then we see Gragas versus Renekton. Basically, no interaction in the early game whatsoever. And then in the teamfight, they're just trying to set up for their team. So I'm hoping we get a little bit more excitement in the top lane coming into game number 2. But definitely, I don't know, bit of a weird one from Suning, bit of a weird composition. The Graves as well didn't feel like it had that much impact on the game across. I mean, SofM kind of doing classic SofM things, getting caught out a couple of times where it's just like, yeah, maybe I could take a little bit more. Yeah, maybe I could go for these Raptors. Maybe I could take this ward. Against smarter teams, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, and I honestly think that this was more so the the pattern of play from the early game where we didn't really see, as you said, like Angel operating too much around SofM, because honestly you can actually like go in, get these invades off, always have the pressure with the Twisted Fate and try and get this Graves rolling, but against an Udyr that becomes very difficult to do. You don't really have the lanes to try and play towards, as you said, the Gragas in the top lane, the Ezreal in the bot lane. The whole thing from Suning just felt very messy from the draft, and then not really able to operate in the game either. So I think from this next game in the series, I'll be looking towards a much simpler draft for Suning to operate on and just go back towards the regular team fight that we tend to see.
Well, we've had 2 weeks now for these teams to prepare for this series, and it's not a great start to it coming out from Suning.